I was thinking about this yesterday. There was a time in my life where, many times in my life, there were many times in my life where I kept telling myself, you know what, you just need to relax. You just need to rest more. You just need to take a chill pill. Uh, all these conversations, right? But I recognize I've always been somebody, and maybe you're one of these people as well. I'm the person that's doing all the things, right? So I'm showing up and I'm helping people and I'm answering questions and I'm the person that everybody goes to and holding it all together. And even if I manage to like slow down in particular areas, I would just feel drained. Some people call it exhausted. I didn't feel exhausted. I felt drained. And it wasn't like tired, it was like heavy, dense. And I oftentimes, this started when I was a teenager. And a teenager, you don't have so many other responsibilities. So then why? Where's that coming from? Right. And I used to be like, what is wrong with me? Like, why do I feel this way? Not just physically feel this way, although there was that, but energetically feel this way, emotionally feel this way, because it wasn't like everything in my life was horrible. There were some hard things for sure, but and on the outside, I don't think it looked very bad because I was a really good actress. But inside, something felt off, and I felt like I couldn't hold much more than what I was holding. And I didn't really understand it at the time. The way that I related it is that I must just be tired. And what I recognized, I was carrying things that were never mine to carry, never mine to carry. So before we dive in, I want to ask you, is there something that feels that way to you? Is there something that you have experienced that feels the same, where there's nothing that's like obviously wrong, but you feel the heaviness or you feel the density? And if that's you, if you relate to that, then just type in the word like heavy or dense or something like that in the comments, because today that is what we're talking about. And it's something that I think most people, doing this work for 25 years, guys, I think most people don't even recognize or realize that it's happening. And that invisible weight that you are carrying every day is absolutely affecting you. So let's get started, friends.
So self-service, that's the way. Welcome to Soul Talk, shine today.
All right, guys, welcome to Soul Talk, where spirit meets real life. I am Dawn Johnston, happy to be with you. And this is where we talk about real life through a spiritual lens, self, soul, and service, and actually how that shows up in your everyday life. So I'm very glad you're here, and let's dive in. So most people think that this feeling that we relate to maybe being tired. So the way that, I don't know, the way people try to fix it, I guess, is they try to rest more, maybe they sleep more, maybe there's a little bit more self-care, they take some time off, but that feeling doesn't necessarily fully go away. And I think that's where the confusion happens, because they're like, okay, well, I'm resting or I got more sleep, but I still feel that heaviness or I still feel that density. And you know, there's there's a difference um between feeling tired, like a physical tired, and feeling drained. Don't you think? Like, I think there's a difference, and I think a lot of times we don't really understand that difference, because tired is a physical thing. We didn't have enough sleep, we exhausted our bodies, we exhausted our minds, and so that's the physical tired. But then drained is something else. And it's so subtle that oftentimes we don't even recognize that we're feeling that way. So drained is like your mind will not stop thinking. And if you relate to any of these, then throw it in the comments and let me know. But that's what drained is like your mind constantly thinks and it ruminates about things over and over and over again. When your emotions feel so full, like you can't contain anything else, like you can't handle one more feeling, right? When you are holding things all day long. You're holding your children's challenges and schedules and your spouses and your household and yours and your emotions and maybe your parents and siblings and friends. And when you've been holding things all day long, then your energy will feel off and maybe it will feel low, but you don't really necessarily recognize how much weight you're carrying and how off it's affecting you. And so getting more rest because you're tired is probably not going to work because when you're drained, it isn't just going to be about sleep. Because what happens is you still wake up. And how many of you found this? I know this is true for me and still feel heavy, right? The key, I think, is that we start to recognize that in life, as we kind of walk through life, this is the reality. So as a spiritual teacher and guide, I might say, okay, you need to maintain your energy, you need to have better boundaries, you need to get more rest, have more stuff. Like we can have all of those things and we can understand that, we can comprehend that. But let's talk about how this builds up kind of day by day because it's not something that just one day all of a sudden this happens. It it builds up quietly and it builds up consistently and it happens throughout your days, well your hours and then your days and then your weeks. And maybe you're at work and you walk into a room where a bunch of people are talking and you feel that tension and nobody says anything, but you feel it. Took that energy, right? You take that energy on. And then you start thinking about it and you start feeling about it. You start wondering, what's that? What's going on? Why is that? Right. And then maybe you talk to somebody, maybe a friend calls you and they're stressed out and they're struggling. And you then listen to them as a kind, compassionate person does. And then you start thinking about it after just constantly, gosh, what could I do? Or maybe they should do this. If they tried that, if they only knew this, da, da, da. Like we keep thinking about it. Uh, you have a conversation with somebody else and you leave the conversation and it just something feels off. Something just feels like it's just not right. And so then you keep replaying what they said and then what you said and then what they said and then what you said. And 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 then maybe you check in on your mom or your sister or something and you're the kind of person that does check in on people. You check in on people, you think about people, you are the one that tries to help people and you are trying to keep things um okay for yourself and for the people around you. And those things probably don't feel like a problem. Like it's not like, oh, I'm doing something wrong. It doesn't feel like a problem. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel um, bad or wrong or dense. It actually likely feels good. It feels good because you are being a helper and you are being compassionate and you're being kind and loving and all of those things. And I think it just it just feels like our nature, like I'm just being a good person. But what's actually happening a lot of the time behind the scenes, not externally, but internally, is your system, your nervous system is processing all of those things on a constant basis. And your energy, your energy, your frequency is absorbing it all. So your system is processing it, your energy is absorbing it. So let's talk about that. So the first piece of this is the nervous system. So I think most of us can understand that the nervous system is constantly scanning your environment. And I find this, yes, this is how the nervous system works in general, but people that are highly sensitive people, if you're a highly sensitive person, throw that in the comments. If you relate to that comment, if you've been somebody who's always been extra sensitive, very kind of tuned in, very intuitive, right? Your nervous system, it's constantly scanning and it's reading the energy of environment, it's reading the tone of the words that are being said, it's reading the facial expressions, it's reading what's being said, and it's reading what's not being said. And that's how our bodies work, right? So that is biology, and the body is basically asking, am I safe? Do I need to respond in any way? And then again, if you are intuitive, if you are empathic, if you are very aware, then you're not just noticing the things like the nervous system is doing to make sure you're safe, but you're also feeling them all. And that is where the shift happens. That's where the shit happens a lot of times, because you go from a state of, I'm noticing this, like I'm recognizing this, to I'm processing this. Okay? And when you start to process the things, then now you're carrying the things. Okay? When you process it, now it's yours. It's the same with energy. When you take it on, when you are the absorber instead of the observer, the absorber instead of the observer, then you have now taken on, you're carrying that energy. And then your energy starts holding it and being affected by it. And your body starts holding it and being affected by it. And your mind holds it and is affected by it. So you're in that state of alert, alert, the danger, right? Because it's constantly in that scanning place. And so you start to come at some point, friends, this is what happened for me. And I was grateful that I learned it at a young age, but I learned it, but I didn't really comprehend it completely. Is that I was not just feeling the feelings and the emotions of my life. I was feeling everyone else's as well. And what that does then is it turns into weight. Now, what I think happens is that over time, it just becomes your normal. It becomes your normal. So it wouldn't, like, you wouldn't think about it as, oh, I'm carrying too much. Like, you just wouldn't think about that. You would think of it as like, well, this is how life is. And that's just how it is. But it shows up in a way that you feel overwhelmed, full, irritated, um, angry, probably, exhausted, disconnected is a big one. And you don't really always know why, because there hasn't been something major and specific or obvious that has happened. But all of a sudden, you're like, and you feel that feeling. If you can relate to that, I'd love to have you share in the comments. I always read all of your comments, guys. Um, and so this is something that a place that I found myself many, many times throughout my life. And I recognized that I couldn't continue to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. And, I was the strong one, and I was the one that held it all together, and I was the one that um that helped everybody, and I was the one who just kind of head down and keep going. And I never recognized or realized how much I was carrying until a lot of times in my life, my body told me, until I couldn't carry it any longer. And I have had many experiences where the body whispered little by little, just little messages, and I didn't hear it, or I didn't get it, or I didn't want to hear it, because in order to, mm, I don't know, change, I guess, in order to change, I would have to let go of an identity that had served me well for many years. And I didn't know how to not be the strong one, or not be the one that took care of everything, or not be the one that supported everyone else, not be the one that um responded when people reached out. I literally didn't know how to not carry everybody else's stuff. I didn't know how. And um my body was the one that started to teach me. And you know, it would start like when I was younger. Uh I started having experiences of um I had migraines. I got a parasite that I had for 4 years. That was really, really hard on me. I had oral surgery that didn't go well, and made me very sick for several months. Uh, I had a crushed ankle that had to be rebuilt with cadaver bone. I had lost 3 babies, so I went through all of the different fertility challenges and issues that we go through. Then later in the last 8, 10 years, uh, I had fibroids and cysts uh, and frozen shoulder and migraines. So my body was speaking. If you believe that your body is giving you messages, I 100% do. And I would encourage any of you that are maybe that's new to consider just learning more about how our body is just letting us know that something's out of alignment with who we are, and that it's not negative. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can be a gift and a blessing when we listen. But when each time, and this is the great thing, and maybe some of you can relate, each time that my body spoke up, I recognized that I needed to make some adjustments, and I did. And then life would happen, as it does. And sometimes I'd fall back into a pattern, or sometimes life just got harder. And then I would do well for a while, and then my body would speak up again. And I want you to hear this, because so many people think that the body is punishing us. Like, okay, what did I do to deserve this? The body isn't punishing. The body is just saying I have no more space. There's nothing left in this container to hold the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions. And ultimately, I think that our body is teaching us boundaries. It's teaching us to take care of ourselves. It's teaching us to stop taking care of, to the sacrifice of ourself, everybody else, because we're not meant to carry everybody's stuff. And even if you can, just because you can, just because you have, doesn't mean you should. It doesn't mean it's healthy to do that, even. So when the body starts speaking, so the body starts out as a whisper. It's a little message like, something's not feeling right. Something feels off. How many of you have felt that way? I don't know. Something feels off. And then you kind of ignore it because life is happening. You're busy and you got jobs and kids and work and money and all the things. And then, 4 or 5, 6 months later, the body, hello, are you listening? Hello, help me out. And kind of push it off, push it off. And then what happens? The body yells. When the body yells, then that's when we go, oh, okay, I need to pay attention. And maybe we make changes. Maybe we make changes in our lifestyle. Maybe we make changes in some of our relationships. Maybe we make changes in our moving of our bodies. And that's great. That's a start. And sometimes we don't make those changes in actually learning how to calm our system, to get ourselves grounded and get ourselves present, and to create healthy boundaries for ourselves, with ourselves. Like, it's not usually somebody else that's breaking my boundaries, it's me, right? That might be true for you, and maybe it's not, or maybe it's hard to hear because it is hard to hear. But I think that when we kind of break all of this down, we know the body is giving us these signs and these messages, and we can either listen or we can ignore. When we ignore, they get bigger because the capacity didn't grow. We don't have any more space. So it isn't that the body's going, "Hey, dummy, you're not doing what we want you to do." It's just saying, "There's no more room for this pain, and you've been stuffing it for so long. It's going to start coming out in different ways in the body." And so the challenge and the problem is that for so many of us that have been carrying this invisible weight that you didn't know, because it is biological through the nervous system, it is energetic, right? It is mental, and you're maybe not conscious of it, and you've just been feeling like you're just tired or you're just exhausted. But it isn't it isn't coming from the place of like too much activity or doing too many things. It's coming from the place of holding too much internally. So it isn't the external action of all the things that you're doing. It's the internal response for having too much inside. And that's two different things, right? And so a lot of people want to fix it um, by getting more rest or taking the more time off or going to the doctor. And sometimes the doctor does help, but most of the time, it's going to be about, because we want to heal the root. So those things will help. Doing more self-care, maybe reading, meditating, breath work, those kinds of things, those are going to help. But they're not necessarily going to fix the root, because the root is that you are taking on the emotional pain, sometimes um, the mental challenge, and the energetic pain, and you're absorbing it and you're holding it. And so basically, what you're doing, friends, is you're holding an energy and thoughts and words and feelings that are not yours. They are not yours. And until that shifts, the exhaustion that's there, it kind of sticks around. And one of the things that I have recognized is that most of the time, when we as women start to pay attention to the exhaustion and actually start doing something about it, uh, is when we get usually into late 30s to 40s to sometimes early 50s. So I've been working with women for shit, um 45 years, but 32 years, or I'm sorry, 25 years in this field. And what I have recognized is that I see a very um strong pattern that's pretty consistent among women. And that is that usually when they hit their either very late 30s, 40s, and 50s, that all of a sudden they look up one day and they go, holy shit, this is my life. And, I don't feel great. I'm not really comfortable in my own skin. I'm uncomfortable being seen. I want to hide. I don't have a voice. And this isn't in all areas of life, by the way, but I'm talking about oftentimes how women feel inside. And they look around and they're like, but my life is pretty good. Like in the big picture, I'm very blessed. So that creates that challenge. And usually it's the 40s and the 50s because for a lot of women, it's because their children are getting older. They're not needing as much time and energy and attention. A lot of times they've gotten more um, comfort in their relationship if they're in a relationship. So they've been doing for so long. And then when things start to ease up, and most of the time, what activates this, guys, what I've noticed anyway, what activates it is our health. It's our body. Our body is what activates it. And if we look at the late 30s to 50s range, what gets a lot of attention during that time? Yeah, hormones, right? Perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, like that time frame, I believe, is in direct connection, and the challenges that we have in that, I believe, are in direct connection to the ability that we have or don't to really honor ourselves, our space, our body, our energy, our capacity. I'm curious what you think about when I say that. Like, if you are a woman right now, have you recognized that in yourself during that age range, or in women around you? Have you seen that? Because this isn't something I can prove. It's just something I see a pattern in, and I'm pretty good at picking up patterns. And so, during that range, you're like, oh, okay, something hits. Like we start having hormone issues, or we start having physical pain, or we start going, I'm not willing to live like this anymore, whatever this is for you. And that's what creates the commitment and the energy and the willingness to do something different, is because the body starts speaking to us, because we can push up, we can put up with a lot, and we push down a lot. And that's not necessarily a healthy thing to do. However, that's often what gets our attention. And the reason it happens during that time, I think, is because most women kind of, they went to school, went to college, or started working, and they're just head down managing and maintaining everybody's everything and doing everything. And usually around that age is when you kind of can get a little bit of a breather, but you recognize, oh, I have a breather in one area, but man, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I want. I don't even know what to do with myself in this place any longer. So throw in the chat what you think about that. I'm curious as to your thoughts personally for yourself, and maybe for some of the women around you. And so this conversation that we're having today is exactly why I have decided to create a new live class on a topic very similar. because it goes deeper than what I can talk about here on this podcast. And so the webinar is just going to be a free webinar in May, and it's called You're Not Tired, Your Energy is Drained: How to Stop Absorbing Other People's Energy and Take Your Power Back. So if that is something that sounds like an interesting um, topic that would bring you some value, I would love to invite you to come and join. There's the link, schooloflight.biz/webinar. The webinar is happening on Wednesday, May 27th from 5 to 6:30 Arizona time, which is Pacific time, on Zoom. And if you can attend live, then if you can't attend live, then you will get the replay. And if you can be there live, number one, we'll do a Q&A, and then I'll be selecting somebody to receive a gift at the end, because I love it when we can have open conversation, and I value the people who are willing to show up. So I always give a gift at the end, as well as answer some Q&A. And in that class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through what actually is draining your energy. Because, friends, I have been working in the energy field for studying it for 42 years, but working in it professionally for 25. And what I have recognized for so many people is that what's actually draining their energy is you absorbing the energy of others, you giving your energy away, and learning how to bring that energy back, because it's possible, and you can do it, and you can feel better, and you can do it in a way that can really simplify things and make serious changes in your life. Because I think that so many of us have been told that we're too sensitive, and man, am I tired of hearing that. Like, we are meant to be sensitive. We're meant to have emotions. And actually, those of you that are highly sensitive people, those of you that um, identify with being a sensitive person, uh, that's your superpower, right? That literally is your superpower. And I disagree that we're too sensitive. But what I will agree with is we don't know how to manage our sensitivity. We don't know how to be the sensitive being that we are and live in the world the way it is, especially lately, in the density and the heaviness and the fighting and the war and the shifts in everything. We don't know how to honor the sensitive being that we are and still live in this physical reality. And y- it's helpful to have somebody who has been there, done that, and can begin to give you more tools so that you can actually claim your energy and claim your life back, because you're not too sensitive. You just need to learn ways to be able to um, incorporate that sensitivity and understand it in a way that maybe you just haven't understood it to this point. It could be as simple as that. And so that's what the webinar is going to be about. So if you want to come and join, then please go and get registered. I'll put the link up there one more time. Sure. Uh, it is right there. So schooloflight.biz/webinar. It's next month. It's a free webinar. You can get registered, come and join us live, put it on your calendar, all the good things, so you can participate. All right. So let's see. I'm seeing some comments here in the chat. I'm emptying the house I grew up in now that both parents are gone. It's so emotional, and all I want to do is sleep. I'm healthy. It's all emotions. Yes. And those emotions are draining your energy, right? That's just like, you ought to feel emotions. You ought to feel emotions. It's if it starts taking you over to a point that you're not functional, that's a different story. That means now we're absorbing the pain. Grief is normal, but we don't want to lose ourselves in the grief. That's the difference. So I think you're recognizing that yourself. 3 dog, 5 cat mom. Uh, Thoughts you hope are not your own. That's what I heard. I needed more space and learning how to uncarry and change what I hold for clients and me breaking my own boundaries. I mean, guys, come on. Isn't it the case that so often it happens to be you that breaks your own boundary, or you that breaks your own promise to yourself? Or maybe you give a boundary, you put a boundary out, and then somebody breaks it, and then you just don't say anything and don't do anything because, well, that's uncomfortable, or it doesn't feel right, or you don't feel like they're going to understand it or get it, or you don't want to disappoint them. Like there's so many different reasons why we do that, right? And I think it's really important to start recognizing that a boundary is nothing if it's not enforced. It's just a suggestion, and that's generally not why you're creating a boundary. Generally. See, I hit that wall at age 65 when we moved out of our hometown. I didn't want to be alive anymore. Physical, emotional pain was more than I wanted to handle. Yes, that is a very it's common statement when there's major change. And even though moving out of your hometown was a choice you made, it still had an impact that you maybe not didn't recognize. And when you start stirring up all that energy, start packing everything up, moving everything, a place that you raised your children, and the place that you had so many of your memories, all that energy starts stirring up. And then we go into this new space, and change has been created. Even if it wasn't intentional that it was going to stir things up that particular way, right? My nervous system was on high alert from childhood until last year when I finally found an understanding doctor. Yes. And that is what, naturopaths, allopaths, homeopaths, that's what a variety, depending on what you're looking for and what your needs are. I would always say stay open to all different forms, because there's the energetics of it, there's the physical biology of it, there's the mental aspect of it, there's the emotional aspect of it, there's a spiritual aspect of it. So when you get kind of a team working with you that understands where you're at, that's when you're going to have the best outcome for yourself generally. Okay, it looks like we've got a lot of highly sensitive people in our community for sure. I recognize that as well. All right, friends. So let's dive in to our heart to heart segment. We're going to move into heart to heart, and this is where we connect with real questions, real life, real experiences. If you are somebody who is joining me live right now, then you can go ahead and put your question. Any question across the board that you have, you can put that in the comments with a couple of question marks in front of it. The heart to heart with Sunny is an opportunity for you to ask any question, real life questions. Talk about real life experiences that you want some support, some guidance, or some direction in. If you wanted to submit your question in advance, you can do that. You would go to the schooloflight.biz website, and you will see under podcast, the Heart to Heart with Sunny, where you can submit your question in advance, and I will answer your questions in advance. So we are going to get started with Heart to Heart, one of my favorite times. And I do have some questions that already came in, but let's get started with Heart to Heart with Sunny first.
Got a question on your mind? Bring it to the light. Every heart has a story. We can talk it through tonight.
All right, friends, welcome to Heart with Sunny. Some questions have come in advance, so I'm going to answer some of these questions first. Then I'm going to come to you, my live audience. And if you are watching on replay, you can throw your questions in here as well. I answer every comment and I read every comment myself. So I might not get it immediately, but I'll get it as close to that as possible. All right. So those of you that are online, go ahead and throw your questions in there. Let's see some of the questions that we have for today. Sunny, how did you know that this work was your path? See, I don't look at them in advance, guys. So, how did I know this work was my path? Well, if I were being completely honest, what I'd say is I didn't. I didn't know that this work was my path. I just actually was talking about this. I have a mastermind group of business women that was here for our in person retreat for our mastermind last week, and we were actually talking about this subject. And and one of them asked me kind of a similar question, and that's what I said. I said I didn't know that this was my path. What I knew was I knew that I wanted to make a difference. I knew that I wanted to help people grow through things that I had gone through. I knew that my heart desired to serve humanity. And I had no idea what that looked like. And I also knew that being a stay at home mom with two kids was not all there was for me. And I don't really love saying that, but it's the truth. Is I had a son when I was a teenager, then I lost three babies, then I had my other son almost 8 years later, and uh, it was I was so grateful. I was so blessed that I had my two children, and I realized very quickly that I was not built to be a stay-at-home mom. I needed something more, and I felt guilty even thinking that or saying that, but it was true, and I had to be honest with myself, and so it wasn't that I didn't love my family or care about my family, and in the way I was raised, because my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and she was there every single day of my entire life when I got home from school. I always wished to be the latchkey kid that some of the other kids were and got to have some freedom because I never had that. But it fed her, and so that actually created even more guilt in me. Not her fault. It was just that I felt like I wasn't enough of a mother because of that. Uh, but I think that there was a deeper calling, and I never knew what it looked like, but I did know how I wanted to feel. And so when you ask that question, how I knew that this was my path, I didn't know what it looked like, but I knew what it felt like because I knew there was service involved and there was help, being a helpful person. And so I just took one step at a time and just one baby step at a time as I was guided, as I took that step, then the next step appeared, and I took that step and the next step appeared. And then once I actually started and realized, oh, I have like a little business here, that's when I started getting intentional. That's when I started getting creative. That's when I started putting my attention in the areas that I actually wanted and started growing my business. I was growing myself that entire time. I've been in this field of spiritual development and personal development since I was 13 years old. And so that's 42 years now. So I'd had a lot of life experiences. I'd learned a lot of what not to do, and that informed what to do. And that helped me discover my path. And it wasn't something that I would have planned, but it has been a beautiful, beautiful journey. I think sometimes when you sign up to be a teacher and a guide in this way, you go through a lot of experiences so that you can help people help people to not have to take as long to go through the things that you went through. So it really contracts time and collapses time so that people can learn faster. And I think that's a great gift. So kind of a hard answer, right? Not a hard answer, but not a simple answer, I guess I should say. What do you do when you feel off? That's a great question. What do I do when I feel off? So this is what I would suggest if you feel off. First, I feel like the very first thing I do is I go within and I ask, "Hey, what's up? What am I feeling? Where am I stuck? Where's my head going? What's my energy level?" Uh, Maybe I'll look at, how did I sleep? What did I eat? I'll kind of just do a little scan physically and energetically. If it's physical, if it feels like it's a physical thing, like I didn't get enough sleep or I physically feel like I'm physically drained, then I might, most of the time, I will go outside and get grounded, outside in the sunshine, get grounded. Usually I'll go for a walk and move my body. And almost always that helps me um, redirect my energy and helps me to feel back into alignment when I feel off. If it's an energetic thing, sometimes that's a little bit harder to trace because I've got to tune into where I notice that feeling and then what energy am I carrying and then what tool can I use to release it. So if I feel off and it's energetic, which oftentimes it is, then we don't get to blame the person whose energy we absorb because now it's ours. So we're the ones that have to heal, transmute, release, let go of it. And so I find that for myself, I will usually do a grounding again. I'll go outside again because that helps with energy. I will usually use I have a spray that is right here called Vibe Razor, and it has sage and orange in it. So the sage helps to clear space, the orange helps to raise your vibration. And so this is one of my own, I have an essential oils line, and this is one of my creations. And so I will use that to kind of just like clear that energy and wake that energy up. Sometimes I'll just do some releasing, like literally like shake it off or go on a vibration plate. And normally if I still feel off, then I'll sit down and I'll journal and see what else comes up that maybe I am not paying attention to. So those are great, great questions in advance. Thank you guys so much. Let's go to our questions here online, and then if I have time for a couple more, for those of you that send your questions in, I will get to those. Okay, let's see. I'm an empath through and through, so I feel other people's emotions. I hear you, my friend. That is a challenge. And so making sure that you maintain your energy in some way, shape, or form can be really important. And holding your own frequency, that's an important tool to use. For me, many of you know, if you've been around me for any period of time, that I'm an angel girl. So I've always felt called and connected to Archangel Michael, who can help us to maintain and hold our energy so we don't absorb the energy of other people. So that could be helpful for you. Okay, let's see what else we have, friends. I need help with my daughter. She shuts me down every time I call or text her, and she does not return my calls. 3 children. What do I do? Well, this is a hard answer. Um, And so first I would try to have conversation and say, hey, what I've recognized is that when I call, you don't usually respond back or don't answer the phone. And I really am interested in having a relationship with you, but I feel like it's more one-sided. Is there something that I have done or I could do to change that? That's where I would start. I think that you've done some of that, just knowing your background, Sandra. And so that's where I would start. But then if somebody isn't interested in being in your life and you have to force and push and beg for them to be in your life, I would question if that is worth it or not, even if it is a blood relationship. And I know that is not a popular opinion by many people. So I'm not saying just walk out. I'm saying try to have the conversations, talk about it, open up the energy and have communication around it. But you can't force people to talk to you and you can't force people to want to be with you. And my personal opinion is that if somebody is not interested in being around you and they continue to push against or push away, then I think they have a right to choose who they want to be with. And so do you. So do you. Okay. I have a hard time shutting my brain off to be more present in my body. I start out okay, and then I come back to my brain. That's very normal, Michelle. It's very common. And so it's just practice by doing your meditation or doing your mindfulness program or process, whatever that is you do, and just acknowledging when your brain comes back online and thank you for sharing, and then just come back into your breath or come back into your visualization, whatever it is you happen to do. It isn't to get rid of any of the thoughts. It's just to start to minimize them. And so acknowledging them instead of trying to push them down and ignore them, that just pushes them back and they pop back up, push them down, pop back up. Instead of doing that, just invite them in. Okay, thanks for sharing that you're there. Got it. And then just move back. So you're just redirecting yourself consistently. Okay. How do you let go of the emotions of letting go of something you worked so hard for, especially when there are other people involved? Um, well, gosh, this could be a lot of different things. So I'm going to give a general answer, and I don't know if this is going to answer your question specifically. But if you've had a goal that you've been working toward, and there are a variety of people that are have participated in that goal, whether it's energetically, emotionally, physically, financially, whatever, and you have made a choice, I'm assuming it's a choice to let go of that for whatever reason. I'm sure there's a variety of different reasons. The emotions are going to be there. And what happens a lot of times is we feel the emotions and they feel really uncomfortable. So then we just push them down. And just like I said earlier to Michelle, we push them down and they pop right back up and they pop back up bigger than they were in the first place. And so if we keep pushing, they keep building and building and building. It's like a beach ball. You're holding that beach ball underwater. It takes so much energy to push that beach ball down and keep it underwater. And then as soon as you think about something or you get sidetracked for a minute, then that beach ball pops back up and it takes enormous energy to hold that beach ball underwater. So instead of trying to suppress the emotions, feel them. Excuse me. Feel the emotions. Um, So we don't let go of them, we feel through them. And the other thing I would encourage you to do is write your emotions out. Write out how you're feeling. That can actually make a big difference too to help release that energy. And then talk to a therapist, a counselor, a guide, a spiritual teacher, somebody that can reflect back to you and help you to see some of the areas that maybe you can't see. Because when you're in it, we get so stuck in it and in our way of seeing it that sometimes just opening up other perspectives can help us to heal as well. Um, If you have back-to-back clients and sessions, Sunny, or a very busy schedule and a tight timeline, how do you clear manage your energy in between so that you can be fully present? If I have real tight sessions, which I do have a lot, I actually will use the vibe raiser to I spray that with the intention of clearing anything that doesn't serve me and allowing me to be an open channel and vessel for my next client. If I have more time than that, I usually will go outside, get a little bit of sunlight, and then I will usually get a drink so that just like make sure I'm hydrated and refresh myself, move my body a little bit, and then go back into the next session. Okay, I'm going to try and finish these last two, friends. How do you uncarry the weight of recognizing you have carried the undercharging of your services and now shifting to adjust them to where they are necessary without feeling the guilt of not being able to see just how out of alignment I was with it? Um, I think that when, with whatever it is, when you come to a place where you have awareness, the reality of it is, even though you feel like, gosh, I should have known this before, you couldn't have known it before or you would have. you couldn't have seen it the way you're needing to see it now, or you would have. You couldn't have recognized it at that time. You didn't have the energy, you didn't have the vision, you didn't have the pair of lenses that could see it. And so beating yourself up, feeling guilty and ashamed for not knowing or not doing or not being able to see something that you couldn't see is literally a waste of energy. It's like trying to have a 3-year-old read a book that they don't know how to read letters yet. Like you just didn't get to that level yet where you could see the broader perspective. So maybe at that time the view was like this. And now the view is like this because of what you've created and what you've done. So, there are always, all of us have times where like, gosh, I wish I would have done that different. I wish I would have known, 5 years ago, this, that, or the other. Yes, absolutely. And you didn't. And just acknowledging that it is as it is can free up that energy of guilt, which is a waste of energy. It does not serve you. And actually, it brings your vibration down so that you stay stuck in the energy of misalignment because you're in that guilt versus acknowledging, wow, yep, what I recognize is that in the past, I did not allow myself to receive an equal exchange of energy for the services that I gave. And I've learned that that is not where I want my energy to be any longer. And so I'm going to be choosing to do it differently. That's it, Kelly. All right, Terry, let's see. When feeling overwhelmed with so many things going on, what is the best way to deal with it all? Husband dealing with health issues and handling it all, business, home, his health, etc., on top of other things with family. Terry, the first thing I would say is ask for help. Ask for help from the humans around you, ask for help from the spirit world, ask for help. It feels as though we have to do all of it. And a lot of times there are people that can help and will help if we just let them. So that's the first thing I would encourage you to do is ask for help physically and spiritually and energetically. The second thing is remember that you can only do so much. Yeah, you can only do so much in a day. There's only 24 hours in a day, and you do your best with each day to your ability. And the third thing is that I would create some boundaries around your time and energy in regard to other people or things in the family. Like maybe if you're somebody that's always done dinner on Sundays or things that you are committed to, and even if you love them, there might be things that are just taking too much of your energy right now, and you can always renegotiate those agreements, those times. So being able to say, what I recognize that at this season of my life, I don't have the capacity and the space to do this, this, or this. And when we do that, number one, it's being honest. Number two, it helps people to inform them of where you are and what you can and can't do. And also in that statement could be, and I could really use some help. And I understand that might be uncomfortable. It might not be it might not feel very safe, but man, could it make a big difference, Terry, when you're going through so much, because that's physically and mentally and emotionally, there's a lot there, my friend. All right, friends. So, wow, our heart to heart took us over time. So, as we close today, I just want to remind you that, guys, you're not meant to carry everything. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. If this episode resonated with you, please go and like it, subscribe if you're on YouTube or Facebook, follow, or you can even donate. If you're on YouTube, you can donate and do a little super chat. It's right there in the comments and help support the podcast. We greatly appreciate that. And if you know somebody that this could benefit, please share it with someone who may need it. I would love to hear from you. So comment what's been feeling heavy for you right now? I'm always curious about that. It gives me great insight into what to offer and share with you guys as we move through the next few weeks. Okay. So I'd love to hear from you. What is heavy for you right now? And lastly, remember, friends, when we allow our divinity to guide our humanity, love becomes the thing that we live, not just the thing we feel, but we live from a place of love. So I hope and intend for each one of you to live from that place of love as well. I love you all. I'll see you next time, friends. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
So self-service, that's the way. Welcome to Soul Talk, shine today.